Have you seen Leonardo da Vinci's newest painting?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, it's Mona Lisa 2.
Oh, we needed that.
Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the internet! This is the most beautiful miracle I've ever seen.
So we saw Wreck-It Ralph 2 breaks the internet.
It should have been Ralph Wrecks the Internet, but they had to go the Mimi route.
The first one by itself is such a great standalone film.
It is.
It did everything so flawlessly, where it was creative, it was interesting to see where Vanellope and Ralph and all these other characters, like everyone had a point, and even all of the the nudge nudge wink wink things, everything was interwoven and it fits so well and perfectly and flawlessly. This one just kind of felt like that it was just trying to be memey and just trying to be just goofy and funny for the sake of being goofy and funny. It reverted back to what a lot of kids' films are nowadays, which are not fun, not interesting, and they're just kind of stupid toilet humor.
Yeah, I got the same vibe from especially the first half of this movie. There was about 40 solid minutes of scenes that weren't really connected that strongly.
No.
And I kept getting this feeling that in development of this film, it felt like they were like, okay, we're still working on the script, so we know it's gonna be like internet stuff, right? So just like, you guys do some like internet skits.
Yeah, because I got the same vibe. The first half of this film feels like a completely different film. It didn't even feel like a movie. I felt like the movie started like right in the middle, because in the beginning part, you see Vanellope and Ralph, and they're just kind of like hanging out in like all these different video game worlds. And it's cool and interesting, but with this one, it was just like, hey, meme culture, hey, this video game character, this video game character, and they didn't really do anything to add up to it. Like in the first one, you see Ralph go to the Bad Guys Anonymous, and that was interesting. It was world building, and it was funny, and it actually worked to Ralph's character, because he didn't really want to be a bad guy anymore and such.
Right. It doesn't spend whole scenes on just making a jokey reference to something.
It had a second purpose. And that's what the newest Ralph Breaks the Internet feels like, is that it's only doing one purpose.
Yeah.
In the beginning, you find out that, Vanellope is getting tired of her track, and then Ralph's like, well, I'll help you out, and then he like builds her a new track on the video game. So the person in the real world breaks the game because, and it was essentially it's due to Ralph. But then when that happens, that kind of sets the plot in motion, but you never really feel like that Ralph had a significant amount of like regret or anything. It was just like, oh, okay, I did that thing. Well, let's go fix it.
Yeah, I didn't get from that Ralph has done something wrong or that Vanellope's mad at him. They didn't do anything like that.
Yeah.
So we just go off on this adventure with this team of characters who, for a good 40 to 45 minutes through the movie, there's no real conflict between them. There's several scenes where they're working together. They're on the same side. They're not like stepping back and forth. She's not pulling away from him. He's not being really clingy. So this whole time I'm thinking, where is this going to go? Like, what am I supposed to be getting from this? There's no movement forward in terms of what the characters are.
Yeah, I got the exact same vibe, because the first half is just meme territory.
Yeah.
And yeah, in the first half, I just feel like I kept on questioning, like, why am I here? Where are we going? I don't feel like that there's any kind of destination that we're heading to. And then finally, when we get to that point, it was relatively kind of interesting until you figure out that Ralph is the biggest jerk.
Yeah.
Because in life, there are people that, make mistakes. Like in the first Wreck-It Ralph, where Ralph is like, I have to break Vanellope's car because if she wins the race, then her video game can get destroyed and she'll get killed, so on and so forth. So, he has this moral dilemma. In this one, he goes to find a virus in the black market, or deep web, dark web. He goes to the dark web to get this virus to essentially just find an insecurity. This is so on the nose. In her video game, so that it can cause some bad stuff to happen, so that she'll still be his friend. That's a really big jerk move. That's not a friend. That's mean.
Yeah, it's a hard train to follow of logic. Because I feel like what they're trying to go for is, through life, you'll have friends that may go further away from you. Maybe they'll move somewhere else. The nature of your relationship with them will change. And that's normal, that's fine. And that's a hard thing to go through. So I feel like that's a good idea for a character arc in this movie. They just did nothing with it through half the movie. And then when they finally got to it, I think the musical number is where it really came to me. I was like, oh, this is where this is going. I had no idea.
It wasn't built up enough.
Yeah, at all. I thought the musical number was pretty fun, but
Yeah.
It's like there's no build up to that. So when it came, I was like a total shock to me.
Yeah.
I would say that the visuals were really good. I thought it was a great looking movie. You kind of expect any animated movie now to look great, but I'd say it was even a step above that. There were a lot of moments in the animation, and I thought to myself, that looks really good. I can't deny that.
Okay.
The brand indulgences were a bit much. So you had the princess stuff, but then you had like the Disney World and then the Star Wars.
They really needed to flex their muscles. They really needed to say like, oh, we own Star Wars and we own Peter Pan and Marvel and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just, no, this just feels dirty.
Too self-indulgent.
Oh, come on. Princesses and cartoon characters barf.
Hey.
Whoa. Cool.
They didn't deflate themselves enough.
They just built themselves up because you see all of the internet and it's like, oh, here's the outside building of YouTube. Here's the outside building of Twitter.
Yeah.
And then you get into this, you're like, oh, we're gonna go inside. We want to show you everything that we have. Oh, look at this. Oh, like, oh god.
eBay was a central part of the story.
Yeah.
eBay itself.
Yeah, that was weird. And then it was just like, huh, when you see the whole Twitter thing where it's just like, oh, isn't it cool? Like birds flying away with your message? Like, oh, we haven't seen this before. Sending a tweet? No. No.
I think the first movie did a great job at handling references because it was just bits and pieces of, I recognize that.
Yeah,
or that's familiar.
Yeah, and it also sometimes would actually fit into the character.
Yeah.
Or fit into the overall story.
Right. The scenes that they were a part of always contributed to the story.
Yeah.
Which should be the bottom line.
I mean, it's fine if you had like establishing shots of like the internet at first and you just kind of see these things, but
right.
Yeah, but then you just kind of go into it and it doesn't really do anything.
Right. It wouldn't have been too much work to change eBay's name to like You Buy or something. So it's like we know it's an eBay sort of service, but we're not branding eBay in several scenes.
Yeah.
It's just too much.
Mm-hmm. I do have to say though, the Disney princess thing, while fun, it went on way too long.
Yeah.
Way too long. But it was fun to kind of see Disney poking fun at itself.
Yeah, I could have done it with a little more fun poking. I feel like they were using kids' gloves, in the humor. Like I did like when they all dressed up in like oh your dress is so beautiful, and and then they changed in all these like really comfortable clothes. I thought that was kind of fun, but most of it was like because it's Disney, they're not gonna make the princesses look bad. They're not gonna do too much.
Exactly. Yeah, no, and I actually feel like that's what kind of held back this movie a little bit was that it's with the internet you can do so many creative things and so many cool things, but there's two issues with this. One, this internet idea has been done like many times before in other movies that I've seen. Mm-hmm. Two, it's Disney. So Disney can't really go out into the realm of like, oh, what's the internet like and such. I mean, they have the pop-up ad blocker people and such. Yeah. But, with the dark web, like there's so much that you could do with that.
Yeah.
But since it's Disney, they can't.
Redirecting to eBay.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next item up, a black velvet painting of a sorrowful kitten. It's like it's looking into my soul.
Yeah, that one's really gonna haunt me for a while.
Okay, so Fix-It Felix Jr. and Military Lady.
Yeah.
They had a really fun dynamic in the first one. They were just like complete polar opposites. Like he's just like the sweet guy. He kind of felt like a Ned Flanders, and then she's just like this hard badass. That's really cool, and they worked well together. And in this one, I thought that they were really going to amp that up even more because they even have it set up where the Sugar Rush kids like don't have a home to go to, and then it's this whole thing about parenting, but they don't do anything with it.
Yeah, it wasn't a subplot. It was a gag early on and a gag at the end that were connected.
Yeah,
I kind of liked the gag at the end because they said like.
The secret to parenting. Yeah, and then
the secret to parenting is, and like as they're talking, the cars are racing by, and then the ref guy is like, "Wow, I wish every parent in the world could hear that." It's pretty funny.
That scene's fine. Like you leave that in, but like have some build up. Maybe have it try connected to this one because just with Vanellope and Ralph, I didn't feel like that there was enough going on there to actually have like a giant supporting film.
I hear what you're saying there. I think if they had some connection between the two plot lines, like, take out a bunch of the stuff where nothing's really happening in the Vanellope Ralph arc, if they're maybe still in communication with Felix for some reason, and there's some connection between Felix covering for Ralph and like warning him about something, so have him involved in some way, then we get a couple more glimpses into them and the kids. We could have a little more something there. I can see that.
Yeah.
Because they were fun, and I liked seeing them.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was just unfortunate that so much of the movie was devoted to the lack of development.
It felt so bizarre for her to be in Slaughterhouse Race because that's when I was like, nothing's really making sense here because you're putting her in a video game where she's really good at it, so then there's no real tenseness. She's just really good at driving cars.
Yeah.
And then there's this other girl that's really good at driving cars, and like there's no emotional stake or anything. It's just kind of like, okay.
Yeah, I think they could have built up why she was so interested in that a lot better. I think what they were trying to say was that because this game has like no rules and there's not one track, you can go anywhere.
Yeah.
Like I think she was supposed to like that freedom to it, but it was so vague because actually during the first whole race, the first time we're in that game, she's so impressed with Gal Gadot's character, Shank.
Okay.
Like, so almost everything she says about liking that world is about Shank. She's like, oh, Shank is so cool. She's so cool. She's so cool. And so you don't really come away with her thinking, oh, she'd rather be in this world.
Yeah, they didn't emphasize it.
Well, once they left the game, I'm not thinking, oh, she wants to go back there and live there.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, oh, she liked Shank. Maybe she made a new friend. Okay. So it was a weird way to frame it, rather than illustrating that what she really wants is this freedom and this...
Yeah, you never get this clarifying moment of her where it's just kind of like she's looking around and she's just like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, this is the place I want to be now.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's not confirming to us. It's just kind of like, hey, you're the audience, you assume this, right?
Right. And see, and that happens in the musical number when she's like, what I really want is to be in the death race game. But but they needed a moment like that where even if she didn't make that connection to herself, she would have still realized, wow, there's no tracks here. Everything's
Yeah.
a track. Like I
Yeah.
think they had a couple like errant lines that like she mentioned that, but it was quickly like cut off by something else, and you keep moving on.
Yeah, like the camera wasn't zoomed up on her and she
Right.
wasn't having like these awe-inspiring eyes. It was just kind of like a throwaway line.
Right.
It's like, there's no tracks here. It's like, yeah, whatever. Anyways, like, yeah.
I thought the side characters were overall kind of a mixed bag.
Yeah.
I thought the Shank character was pretty dull. When we first hear about it, it's like, oh, Shank, she's like kind of mysterious or scary, but she's never presented that way. She's always presented as like being a really nice supermodel kind of. She's not mean or scary or anything. It's
Just kind of monotone.
Yeah.
Just like one level.
very boring. I think it would have been much more interesting if she had like a dark side or some like scary side you saw initially, and then you roll it back and she's nice. Sure, but they didn't do that, which so I didn't get anything out of her. I more so liked the YouTube. What's her name? Yes, the algorithm.
Yes.
She was more fun, I thought. More dynamic, more interesting animations, and better with voice acting. But my friend Matthew mentioned this, that the first thing you see of her, she's being very picky. She's swiping through these different videos like, oh, that's, cliche, this has been done a million times, boring, next, we need to get more originality. But her whole involvement with Ralph is to get him to do the most knockoff...
Basic thing! Yeah.
Just rip off everyone else, make unoriginal content, and she's all excited about it. So her character didn't really go anywhere, which, it's not the end of the world.
No.
But
you could even do something with that where it's like the first beginnings of like, YouTube or like whatever that site is called.
BuzzTube, yeah.
BuzzTube, yeah, you could do something funny with it where it's like, we're gonna make so much money, and then you could even do something interesting where at the very end of it, of Ralph's career as, a giant YouTuber, it's like, oh, people are tired of this. It's just the same rehashed stuff. And then you could even do more commentary on like the whole thing on YouTube, and then you could have a more interesting dynamic with that.
Yeah. I think that's a good point because that makes me think this movie would work better as more of an ensemble piece, where rather than just having the two characters who have character arcs, you have all these other characters who can have something too. Like you could have done something with you could have done something with Shank. You could have done something with even the know-it-all guy, the Google guy, whatever his name was. Have when you have characters in a movie, you want them to change. That's interesting. Like, I know this is kind of a weird comparison to make, but in the movie The Waterboy, there's like 6 or 7 characters that have arcs in that movie. Like, they start at one place and they end up somewhere else. And that's just a very basic storytelling element that makes characters interesting. And that was not all in this movie up until about halfway through. Then you get the stuff with Ralph and Vanellope, but nobody else has an arc. So it would have been more interesting if they had more character development in general.
Yeah. Then at the very end, another jarring thing was the very final scene in the credits. Did you stay for that?
Oh yeah, the Rickroll.
Oh, I don't know if I saw that part, but I saw the where the little kid is playing a game on the iPad. Yeah, it didn't add anything to the very end. It was just...
No, okay. So the reason they put that in there is because they actually had originally designed that scene to be part of the movie. Yes, so the producers came out and said, we really thought that Bunny and Rabbit scene, or whatever it was going to be part of the movie. Bunny and Kitten? whatever it was.
Yeah.
Like they said, yeah, we thought this scene was going to be part of the movie. We're like, when we made it, we're like, this is absolutely going in the movie. And then as we worked through the movie, we're like, well, it doesn't really fit. So, but we wanted to put it in there, so we just put it in the credits. And that is further evidence to this theory that they made several scenes that didn't really have any plot relevance, that were just, oh, let's just make a funny scene with Ralph. And
Is that confirmed?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because that was weird too. All right. Okay.
that was one of the first promos that came out for the movie, actually. And when I saw that, I was like, I was not feeling it, because it's like a goofy kind of scene that doesn't
doesn't
have
add
clear,
anything.
Right. It has no clear relevance to plot or the characters or anything. It's
Right.
just
kind of funny, stupid humor.
around the music video time when we find, oh, this is what Vanellope feels, she wants to go to this other place, then the plot developments start to come very quickly.
Yeah. And I actually started getting intrigued, and then it really started to lose me again, though, when it just turned into another schlock fest of a giant monster.
Well, the themes there were still kind of cool, though, because like the bad guy was really like Ralph's insecurity, right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't just like some monster. It was like, it was his inability to let go and to be okay with a changing relationship. And so I thought that was kind of sweet. Like,
I mean, it was good. I mean, the part of it that I didn't like was just like this giant, just kind of like just action scene of this giant monster thing.
Every movie feels like they need a big action scene.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and for me, I was like, but then the monster has Ralph in one hand and then Vanellope in the other, and yeah, the monster is just like millions of different clones of Ralph, like forming one giant Ralph.
Right, they're all clones of his insecurities specifically.
Right, and so he's holding both of them, and then when it really intrigued me when Ralph is just telling him like, no, we gotta let her go. We have to move on. I was like, okay, you caught me back on.
Right, instead of winning with a punch, he's winning by talking about his feelings.
Yeah.
Which was good, because it also, what bothers me about a lot of movies is when there's a conflict that can be easily resolved just by talking. And it's kind of in this when, like, Ralph is eavesdropping on Vanellope, and he's like, oh, she's gonna leave me. I gotta do something about it. Well, okay, if they talked about it, they'd probably work something out. It would be okay. But, instead he goes on this cockamamie journey to get the virus, which made him look like a total jerk. Like, not a relatable or understandable jerk. Just like, come on, Ralph, don't do that.
Jerk, yeah.
Yeah. So, it's not a bad movie, but it's pretty forgettable.
Yeah. I would say just go home and watch the first one, because that's what I did, and I was far more entertained by that one. Just go watch the first one.
Watch the first one.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Ralph breaks the internet.
Shouldn't it be Ralph wrecks the internet?
Yeah, since he is Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah, but break the internet, it's like a thing.
Right, it's just wreck the internet kind of sounds better, doesn't it?
You're not wrong.
So I'm really looking forward to the next Leonardo da Vinci movie.
Oh, he's making another one. Okay.
He is.
What is it?